Let's just begin.
Well, that was a sick.
Thank you.
The lagging goes kind
Let's
of.
just begin Threadbore. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's just OBS. It's not like that.
Okay.
In the actual stream. Let's go to 17.
Alright.
Oh yeah, right. The headphones like got really quiet last time I used them.
Got really quiet.
Yeah.
Why?
Because, I don't know. I was just playing, and all of a sudden the voices began to sound like whispers.
It's because of the bar.
This thing?
Yeah.
I tried turning it up all the way.
And it's glitching a little.
Gosh, it sounds way louder now.
Open world loop.
What is that? Is that a mod?
The openness of
Like
code
this?
introduced a new
Developer
problem for us
commentary.
in how we distributed item rewards.
That's crazy.
In a Half-Life game,
This
we
is how
typically
to
reward
developer
players for
commentary.
exploring.
Yeah.
If you see the way
Actually,
forward but
yeah.
notice something off to the
Talking
side,
about-
there's probably something
Gabe
useful
Newell
you
was
can take
speaking.
time to search. When we first started playtesting our coast maps, we tucked
Buggy Bird. In one memorable coast playtest, a player returned to their vehicle after exploring a house and happened to see a bird flying past. They yelled at the bird, telling it to stay away from their buggy, complaining that birds often foul up their cars in real life. In our post-playtest discussion, we realized that this was the first time we'd had objects separate from the player that the player actually cared about. We saw it as an opportunity to explore, so we built a system to deliver the moment that playtesters fear. When the player leaves their buggy alone for a while and is out of sight, we spawn a seagull at a random location on the vehicle frame. As time goes on, the seagull spawns poop decals on the car body beneath it and continues until the player returns, at which point it flies away. Naturally, playtesters wanted to be able to clean their vehicle, so we added the ability to wash the car by driving it into shallow water. It was late enough in development that we already had the tech for all of this, so the
Buggy sound design. The sound design for the buggy was based on samples from an old 1968 Camaro. And we chose that car because they have these amazing V8 engines with just huge pistons. And there's not really another sound like it. It has this sort of gutsy, visceral sound that we were looking for. The transmission also has this really wonderful mechanical whine when it stops accelerating. And that combination felt really responsive within this basically binary input system that we had to work with. So the fake engine transmission wasn't modeled after a real world car. Instead, it was just designed as a simple system to reward the player for holding down the accelerator.
It's a boathouse. In Half-Life 1, we discovered we could get a lot of value from scenarios where different AI enemies fight each other. It's fun for players to watch them engage, and it's much easier to observe enemy behavior when you're not the one that's being threatened. This first encounter between Antlions and Combine soldiers is designed to be a fun opportunity to ram something with the buggy, but it also serves to highlight the Thumper. By seeing the soldiers use the Thumper to hold off Antlions, we hope more players would come to understand its purpose. We liked how the soldiers demonstrated the value of staying near the Thumper while engaging with the Antlions.
I guess that's it. I remember seeing these boats. Thinking to myself, like, oh man, I can't believe I get to go inside. But no. They're just boats.
Gordon Freeman! Hurry, get in the basement. We're expecting gunships at any moment. Colonel Cubbage will be glad to see you made it.
Alright, cool. Alright, that works.
This...
Odessa Cubbage. Odessa Cubbage is an example of the kind of cameo character we found works well. He's an entertaining guy with some entertaining details, living inside his own little bubble. Since he doesn't leave his scenario, he's free to be exaggerated enough to stand out.
Sorry.
And it didn't quite fit as an Englishman, so we slapped a mustache on him, and in that moment, Odessa's character was born. He's ultimately a charlatan, with everything about him being fake. His accent, his mustache, everything. He would never put himself in danger, making him the perfect person to hand Gordon the RPG and explain exactly how to use it.
Wow.
Laser-guided RPG. The laser guidance feature of the RPG was a huge headache for us because it was difficult to teach. Many playtesters would fire the RPG and then immediately duck behind cover, which meant they didn't see the rocket's flight path. Even worse, they didn't realize the rocket was now turning around to fly back at them. We tried various HUD elements and laser dot indicators to help, but found that most players overlooked them, focusing on the enemy instead. We made as many small improvements as we could, like emphasizing the feature in Odessa's speech and enhancing the audio and visuals around how the gunship shoots down direct RPG shots. While these changes helped some players grasp the feature, we never reached a point where we felt confident that almost everyone understood it. We even considered cutting the feature entirely, but gunship combat without it was much less interesting. The laser guidance forced the player to keep the gunship in sight while the rocket was in flight, but that also meant the gunship had line of sight back, creating a tension we loved.
Oh. Mommy says oh.
Take some ammo. Take some ammo.
Grenades.
Flying vehicle audio. The large flying enemies in the game present a unique audio challenge. During combat, they're much more mobile than other enemies, and they often move a significant distance away from the player.
Combine gunship. The gunship was an interesting problem. We had a helicopter flight model already and didn't really have time to build something completely new. So we tuned the helicopter's flight model until it felt different enough, and then derived the gunship's organic animation state from the values coming out of that simulation. We also tried to keep it as truthful as possible. For example, there's a limit as how much it can turn its head to aim its cannon, and if it needs to aim beyond that, it has to alter its flight path to bring the cannon around to bear. It's not allowed to just cheat. The other key feature was its engine sound. We have sound spatialization, so the player can tell roughly where it is, but the gunship is a fast-moving object, and it's up in the air, away from any nearby reference points. As a result, it can be hard to tell exactly how far away it is and how fast it's moving. To fix that, we added a Doppler effect to the engine sound, pitch shifting it based on the gunship's velocity relative to you. It's a subtle effect, but it's extremely effective at subconsciously helping you perceive the gunship's location and direction. Critical information letting you know that you're being hunted by it.
Shit. man. Oh my god.
D2 Coast 04. This map was actually the first area of coast that we built, before the crane and other elements existed. The drained seabed and rusted ships were some of the earliest pieces of art direction we developed. Years later, we showcased the map in our 2003 E3 demonstration, though much of the gameplay was still being figured out at the time. As a result, when we began building out the entire coast section, that demonstration became a useful vision for us to work toward.
What are you talking about? I don't know. I guess I just watch it a lot. Nah, that's just
Audio
one of
over
his-
distance.
one of the dude's thumbnails.
The large-scale spaces in the coast maps led us to seek an audio solution for how sound changes over distance. So for instance, in these maps, an enemy can be well over 100 yards away, and their gun should sound different at that range than when it's up close. We decided to store our sounds in a single stereo file with the near sound in the left channel and the far sound in the right channel. And then during playback, we crossfade, or we change the proportion of sound you hear between those two channels based on the player's distance from the sound. And it was a simple solution that worked well. It helped us with memory constraints. You can easily hear it in action. Just listen to how a Combine soldier's gunshots change as you drive towards them.
I agree.
We wanted the buggy to be more than just a means of travel, so we decided to attach a gun to it. We chose the Tower Cannon, a Half-Life 1 weapon we liked but hadn't found a place for it in Half-Life 2. The Tower Cannon can shoot through walls, which makes it tricky for level design, so we limited it to the coast section. Once you introduce wall-penetrating weapons, level design becomes much tougher. Furthermore, we mounted an ammunition crate on the back of the buggy, giving the player unlimited SMG ammo throughout coast. This is especially helpful for playtesters who struggled with the infinite antlions spawning from the sand.
He flew that way, he really did it. Alright, check it out. In that water puddle, this thing goes. Ah. Rats.
Crane. The crane took a lot of fine-tuning to get right. Something that needed to generate so much physical force was always risky, given the limitations of our rigid body physics and destruction technology. For example, the magnet was never going to fully meet player expectations for something with that much mass. But because the crane was stationary, we could carefully choose everything within its range and fine-tune as needed. Fortunately, most players didn't seem to notice its rougher edges, likely because of the sheer novelty of interacting with something like it in a vaguely realistic physics environment.
Sha-la-la. Dragon. Sha-la-la-la. Sha-la-la-la. Sha-la-la. Save. Save and we go. Sha-la-la-la. Dragon. Sha-la-la-la. Yay.
Opportunistic moments. Some memorable moments in the game come from the interactions of multiple game systems, but sometimes we realize these moments are likely to happen only rarely. When that's the case, we often wish more players would experience them. There's a tension here. The more we know players will encounter something, the more effort we can put into it. But if it feels too artificial, the moment can come across as forced, and players may not respond as positively. The gunship cinematic death is an example where we nudge things a bit, trying to increase the chances of a memorable moment without being too obvious. The design of this area and the gunship's flight path make it likely that the player and the gunship are in the right spots when it dies. If they are, we trigger the gunship's crash into the cars. If not, it dies in the usual way. It's totally gamey, but playtesters didn't seem to mind when the moment played out well.
Usually it lands. Sorry what this car this was, but sorry, jeez. Good now. I've never run into this thing before. What is that? That little seagull dropping droppings. He's a laughing god. He's dropping Duke as we're squeaking.
So, give me gear that you think I would like.
Type in EMP lemon, like EMP lemon, and then type the first video.
EMP lemon?
Yeah. And just tap the first video that he's made recently.
Emperor lemon.
Yeah.
Poker's the greatest. This is
it is about a guy gambling. No, but it's good. It's good. Not a critique of gambling. What is that?
Roller mines. Roller mines were created to fill the need for an enemy that could threaten players while driving the buggy. Since the player in the buggy was essentially a fully physically simulated entity, we thought it would be interesting to also have a physically simulated enemy. The Mad Hack had already shown us how this approach could lead to an enemy with lots of interesting interactions with the world. So we built the roller mine, a ball whose movement is entirely driven by generating torque on itself, and iterated on its behavior until it was fun to drive against. Roller mines aren't particularly dangerous to the buggy, but if you let them stack up, they can become a problem, especially near a cliffside. We also made sure they worked well when the player's on foot, allowing level designers to get a few extra encounters out of them.
Type in desync. He's played some of the Far Cry games and.
Nope, already not.
He's played like the Tom Clancy games.
I'm not that interested in those games.
No, but they're good videos. Trust me, they're good videos.
Like a VR type game, survival type.
I don't know any dudes like that.
You wanna say that to me? You wanna say that? I get shot.
Just making sure. It's easy.
Ambush. One of the general challenges of a Half-Life style FPS is that the player is constantly moving forward into spaces they don't know. This means that when they find themselves in combat, they're in unfamiliar areas with no knowledge of how to approach the fight. We use many different methods to help the player with this problem, and this ambush is one example. Upon arrival, the player fights a group of Combine among these houses. During the fight and the exploration afterward, the player has the chance to learn the arena layout. Then, when the player explores up into this attic, we spawn a second wave of Combine. In that second fight, the player now has the advantage of knowing the layout, allowing them to make more tactical decisions in defending against the ambushers.
Alright, cool, that's it. I finished my side quest. Whoa. Strong. Wow.
Crossbow. This is the player's first opportunity to get the crossbow in the game, and looking back, it's somewhat surprising we didn't gate it. It's entirely possible for the player to drive right past it. To make that less likely, we set up the roadblock and vantage point to encourage players to get out of the buggy, at which point they'd spot the crossbow and item crate. Playtesting showed that almost every player stopped and collected the weapon, but this is a case where the difference between playtesting and real play might matter. A playtester who's been playing since the start of Coast may not be as fatigued with exploration as someone who's been playing from the very beginning of the game. So, we placed another crossbow a few levels ahead, directly on the player's path in Nova Prospect. Crossbow. This is the player's first opportunity to get the crossbow in the game, and looking back, it's somewhat surprising we didn't gate it. It's entirely possible for the player to drive right past it. To make that less likely, we set up the roadblock and vantage point to encourage players to get out of the buggy, at which point they'd spot the crossbow and item crate. Playtesting showed that almost every player stopped and collected the weapon, but this is a case where the difference between playtesting and real play might matter. A playtester who's been playing since the start of Coast may not be as fatigued with exploration as someone who's been playing from the very beginning of the game. So, we placed another crossbow a few levels ahead, directly on the player's path in Nova Prospect.
Gas station. We had grand plans for this encounter. We envisioned building a gas station that the player would fight around, likely igniting the gas tanks and setting fire to everything. We imagined the player driving away from a raging fire, but budget and performance were harsh constraints in 2003, and the station had to keep getting smaller and simpler to fit into Coast's large levels. Our plans for a dynamic fire system didn't materialize, and building it no longer made sense. There's always a limit to how much work we can justify for a single encounter. In the end, the only remnants of our original vision are the explosive gas tanks.
Damn. Sad. Put up a parking lot. Ba ba ba. Ba ba ba.
Area portals. One performance challenge we faced in Coast was handling wide open spaces that included buildings with highly detailed interiors, or at least they were detailed by 2003 standards. When the player was outside, we wanted to allocate as much of our budget as possible to rendering that space, without losing resources to the building interiors. But unless we were willing to board up every window and door, the player could still see inside. To solve this, we created a feature called area portals, placing one in every open window and door. An area portal pre-computes a flat image of the building's interior, and during play, when the player is some distance away, the area portal displays this pre-computed image over the window or door, allowing us to skip rendering the actual interior. As the player approaches, we smoothly crossfade between the area portal's image and the building's actual contents. With careful use...
I'm gonna have to hear that again.
Area portals. One performance challenge we faced in Coast was handling wide open spaces that included buildings with highly detailed interiors, or at least they were detailed by 2003 standards. When the player was outside, we wanted to allocate as much of our budget as possible to rendering that space, without losing resources to the building interiors. But unless we were willing to board up every window and door, the player could still see inside. To solve this, we created a feature called area portals, placing one in every open window and door. An area portal precomputes a flat image of the building's interior, and during play, when the player is some distance away, the area portal displays this precomputed image over the window or door, allowing us to skip rendering the actual interior. As the player approaches, we smoothly crossfade between the area portal's image and the building's actual contents. With careful use, area portals helped us to meet our performance goals on Coast, along with the occasional door that closed itself behind.
Occlusion. In Half-Life 1 and much of Half-Life 2, the world consisted mainly of enclosed tunnels and corridors, which worked well with a binary space partition, or BSP tree. Essentially, this tech allowed us to quickly sort through the geometry and determine what might be visible in the player's view. But the open areas in Coast and other outdoor sections didn't suit that approach, so we needed some new tech. Area portals were one, allowing us to carve out the world into discrete chunks separated by portals. Doors and windows, that is, not Aperture Science ones. We also developed an additional occlusion system, which basically said that if the player can't see through, over, or around a large object, don't render what's on the other side. This might seem an obvious thing not to do, but it takes some work to make sure that calculating what's on the other side of the big thing isn't slower than just rendering everything. So to make that calculation fast, level designers placed large occlusion volumes inside major terrain shapes and big occluding objects like buildings, and during detail objects. Once we had outdoor sections running,
terrain and performance. Our performance budget was often a significant constraint when it came to combat, and even more so for combat on terrain surfaces. When NPCs move, they perform
detail objects.
Let me get this again.
Once we had outdoor sections running, it was clear they needed some form of high-frequency detail, so we added small foliage elements, like grass and shrubs, across the displacement terrain. But we knew we couldn't afford, which is to say we didn't have the time, to hand-place them all. So we built the detail object system, which generates small foliage elements automatically based on the displacement material. Each material specifies the type of foliage to place, along with a set of parameters. At map compile time, the system calculates random points on the surface and selects foliage to place there. Given performance constraints, there was still a fairly complex hand-authoring process for foliage texture sheets, allowing us to render all of them in a single pass.
Oh my god. Nice. Yeah, we're just playing a bit of Half-Life. Just exploring empty houses. Oh man, hold on. I'm gonna put a grenade right here on this little. Oh. Put one on shelf.
Medical systems engaged. Morphine administered.
You know. Alright. That's that. Oh. Check this out. Wow. Hold on. Whoa. That's pretty cool, right? That's basically Half-Life 2.
Warning. Toxin levels detected.
I thought there was a secret. I thought I was missing out on a secret. Boom. Right in its butt. I'm wondering if Donkey Kong will join. Yeah, I hope. That's what I was wondering too. I made a post and everything.
The bridge. This bridge section was inspired by the Deception Pass Bridge, just up the road from Valve's office. We initially built this section as a pure navigation puzzle, gradually layering more gameplay into it. It also became the primary test case for our players' edge friction. In our movement system, we subtly increase friction on the player's deceleration as they approach the edge of a surface. Players have never noticed it, likely because it aligns naturally with their goal of stopping at the edge to look down, matching human tendency to move more slowly and carefully near a drop. But it's a critical feature for this part of the game. We know this because at one point during development, we accidentally broke it, and suddenly all of our playtesters started repeatedly falling to their deaths.
Bridge playtesting. The bridge section was always a high point in playtests, with testers consistently having strong reactions to it. The tension they felt while slowly making their way over the girders was visible in their movements. Over time, we layered more challenges into the traversal, and playtests only became more entertaining to watch. From the train rumbling across the bridge and shaking the player, to a surprise head crab in a shack that seemed like a safe haven midway through, we did feel a little guilty relishing the playtesters' visible stress, but we weren't total monsters. After players made it across the bridge, they breathed a sigh of relief, disabled the combine shield, and then realized they had to return across the underside.
Good luck with your studies.
Concerned they might be bored on the second trip, we
May you
decided
find
to add a gunship
success.
to
Okay,
keep them
bye.
company out on the girders.
See you soon. See you soon. Okay.
Bridge gunship. We were particularly happy with the gunship fight, despite it being tricky to set up given the level geometry. Being on the underside of the bridge allowed the gunship to move fully around the player, using all 3 dimensions to position itself above and below at different moments.
Bye.
The girders provide plenty of high-frequency cover, creating opportunities for the gunship's fire to produce a fun and dynamic visual and audio display.
What up?
One cool video. You say you find it. Where is it?
I'm not watching that.
Why not?
It's on streaming.
Bridge playtesting. The bridge section was always a high point in playtests, with testers consistently having strong reactions to it. The tension they felt while slowly making their way over the girders was visible in their movements. Over time, we layered more challenges into the traversal, and playtests only became more entertaining to watch. From the train rumbling across the bridge and shaking the player, to a surprise head crab in a shack that seemed like a safe haven midway through, we did feel a little guilty relishing the playtesters' visible stress, but we weren't total monsters. After players made it across the bridge, they breathed a sigh of relief, disabled a Combine shield. Bridge playtesting. The bridge section was always a high point in playtests, with testers consistently having strong reactions to it. The tension they felt while slowly making their way over the girders was visible in their movements. Over time, listening.
Bridge gunship. We were particularly happy with the gunship fight, despite it being tricky to set up given the level geometry. Being on the underside of the bridge allowed the gunship to move fully around the player, using all 3 dimensions to position itself above and below at different moments. The girders provide plenty of high-frequency cover, creating opportunities for the gunship's fire to produce a fun and dynamic visual and audio display.
Reminds me of Dark Souls. Okay, guy, come on now.
history tells you that. But if this guy is doing a copy of that in Into the Bridges, is it safe to play? Like, it doesn't even have the same lyrics.
Right.
If this is his name, and like,
Bridge gunship. We were particularly happy with the gunship fight,
Yeah, that's
despite
so
it being
good.
tricky to set up given the level geometry. Being on the underside of the bridge allows the gunship to move fully around the player, using all 3 dimensions to position itself above and below at different moments. The girders provide plenty of high-frequency cover, creating opportunities for the gunship's fire to produce a fun and dynamic visual and audio display.
So you want some sustenance?
Sure.
Come over here, son.
Alright, fine.
Put up a BRB screen. Got it. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry.
Okay. Got ground control to Major's rum.
Yeah, you're banned. I'm banned soon.
Stop saying my name. I'm kidding.
You see Chassis?
When it pops up, yeah.
Yeah. Dude. You should do a playthrough on? If you have it, you should definitely do a playthrough on Metal Gear Solid.
I don't know how it do it.
If you have it on PC,
That'd be cool. Ground patrol to Major's Rock. Build it. I guess they are. Okay. balloon. I cannot believe it. One more time, let's go. This is it. Speed boost right now. There we go. Speed boost. Turn. It's gonna hit.
Roger.
Not yet. Do that again. 2 more tries. Sneaky. Oh, nice. Let's block this. Face kick. One sec. One more.
2 more tries, he said.
One more time.
We're gonna keep doing this until you get it so we don't play. I told you, Sam. I knew you were gonna do this so good. Lose it. Sam!
I just have to give it the old college try.
Yeah. One. Really busy.
Hey. Oh my god. Oh my god.
28 transitions later. After stringing together a few levels with dark tunnels as transition spaces, we realized we could subvert player expectations by building another one that appeared to be a transition, but instead
I can't hear you. I'm listening
like
to
everyone else,
developer
we saw
commentary.
28 days later in 2002, loved it, and immediately wanted to create
Flashlight power. The decision to have both Sprint and the flashlight share the HEV's suit power was a controversial one in Half-Life 2. Initially, only Sprint used suit power, which made sense as it was meant to be only a short burst of speed. The flashlight, on the other hand, could be used indefinitely, but playtesting revealed an issue. Players often left dark areas without realizing the flashlight was still on. In brightly lit open areas like Coast, our performance budget couldn't support the flashlight being on continuously, so we needed a way to turn it off without player involvement. Limiting its power seemed like a simple solution, with the benefit of adding some tension to dark areas too. The challenge then became, what resource should it use? We already had suit power, and didn't want to clutter the UI with a new resource just for the flashlight. We toyed with the idea of other player abilities using suit power, thinking it might be interesting to have players make trade-offs between them. This is a good example of game design often being about
ramming zombies with the buggy. As human beings, we have expectations for our physical world, as mentioned a few times in this commentary. One of those expectations is, if you hit a zombie with your car, it should get absolutely booted into the air. But getting this effect in-game isn't as straightforward as it is in the real world. For performance reasons, enemies like the zombie use a simplified collision box during gameplay. This is a box that fits snugly around the zombie with no part of the model sticking out. But when the zombie dies, it's converted into a ragdoll with more accurate collision boxes. So this is more expensive to simulate. This change in collision representation adds further complexity when you ram a zombie with the buggy, beyond just the frame hitch. When the buggy first collides with the zombie, it touches the zombie's simplified collision box. The game then kills the zombie, converting it into a ragdoll that the physics system begins to simulate. Now, with more accurate per-lem collision, the closest part of the zombie may be several inches away from the buggy. As a result, the next time the physics system simulates, the zombie starts falling from gravity, because the buggy is no longer pushing it. While it's only a short moment before the buggy reaches the zombie again, this small discrepancy made ramming zombies unsatisfying. They often fell out of the player's view. To fix this, we saved the force the zombie's collision box received when hit by the buggy, and applied that same force to the ragdoll after conversion. We also added a slight upward force to the ragdoll, launching it a bit. With these
D2, Coast 9. Late in Coast development, we reached a point where our game code was far enough ahead of our level design that our gameplay programmers were looking for more code to write and new tasks that could help Half-Life 2 ship. This was largely due to the demands of Coast levels, which placed a heavy burden on our level designers with their sheer scale and extensive train usage. As a result, our gameplay programmers began designing smaller scale encounters. Later, when our level designers caught up, they created this level by stitching together 3 separate encounters from the programmers and performing all the necessary finishing work to prepare it for release.
Eleven 26.
Time of death 11:26.
Okay, now. Excuse me.
With the increased density of objects in Half-Life 2's gameplay spaces,
We thought it would be interesting to have players search for a specific item, especially if there was some logic to where it might be found. This way, players could locate the item either through careful observation and deduction, or just by brute force searching the area. Since we already had models for cars and batteries, it was a natural step to create a small junkyard for players to explore. We also hid a couple of extra batteries in unexpected places, for the players who chose the brute force method. As with other item-based puzzles, this one needed a failsafe in case players lost the batteries. You can try throwing all of them over the cliff if you want to see what happens.
Let's see, I know there's one under the bathtub. Excuse me.
You made it! We're picking up radio chatter. They're looking for your car. Get your car in the garage.
Buggy removal. Once we reached the point where we wanted the player to leave the buggy behind, we had to be very explicit about it. Throughout Coast, players had been leaving the buggy and then returning to it, so we found that playtesters would try to bring it along if it looked even remotely possible. This small garage scene primarily exists to signal clearly that the player is done with driving and will be proceeding on foot.
Okay.
Dropship deployment. Deploying soldiers from the dropships was tricky, as it required NPCs to spawn inside another solid object. To get them into the open where they could start navigating normally, they immediately play an animation that has them leaping out of the container the moment they spawn. Once that was working, we encountered another issue. Savvy players would simply just wait outside the container and shoot the soldiers during their exit animation. To counter this, we added a turret to the container to defend the soldiers as they exit. It doesn't fully prevent a player from taking advantage, especially if they're using an indirect weapon like a grenade or something, but that felt realistic and like a true-to-life countermeasure someone thinking strategically might take.
Performance constraints. For the final Coast arena, we envisioned a base battle where the player and a squad of citizens would hold out against waves of combined soldiers, culminating in a gunship battle. Unfortunately, the computational cost of having soldiers and friendly allies moving around on terrain meant that the battle kept being scaled back to fit within our performance budget. By the time we were down to featuring only a single squad of soldiers at any given time, we were already late in development. Too late to make large-scale changes to the arena to accommodate more enemies. We had to redesign the flow of the fight to keep the number of soldiers to a minimum.
I'm making a lemon juice. And I spilled it halfway through because I needed 3 hands to hold everything down. You got it, bro. You got it. Rock it. That's not an open cut on my hand. A little bit.
Alright, I'll throw them away.
Okay.
I love limes.
Lighthouse Gunship. The gunship scenario here took some work to play out the way we envisioned it. We wanted it to unfold as it would in a movie. In the filmic version, the gunship would fire through the windows as the protagonist ascended the lighthouse, anticipating their movements. To simulate that anticipation in the game, we set up a complex series of trigger volumes along the staircase. As they detect the player moving up, they instruct the gunship to choose a new flight path that matches the player's altitude. The triggers also enable bullseye targets in the windows nearest the player. These are invisible game objects that the enemy AI will immediately perceive as hostile, and prompts the gunship to fire at the windows. This blend of AI and scripting is central to Half-Life's combat scenarios. The AI manages the general adaptive behavior of the NPCs, while the scripting customizes each scenario's unique requirements.
Oh.
Shadow. So good. Damn you. Yes, many
This way,
have.
Dr. Freeman. We'll take the cliff path before another gunship finds us.
Should we still on the BRB screen? What? No way. No way. That's crazy. Oh, hi guys. Bam. Alright, let's get the show going. I just finished fighting a big dude.
Let's go!
Thanks for telling me, by the way. Oh man.
Right along there. And watch your step.
Wow, shout out. Shout out Trevor. Trevor, you're the GOAT. Trevor. Greatest of all time.
Buggy theft. As we built the end of Coast, we decided to have the Combine steal the player's buggy. It really doesn't make logical sense, but after watching so many playtests where players developed a strong attachment to their buggy, we wanted to play with that emotional connection. Once we implemented the theft, we had playtesters yelling at the Combine for stealing their ride, something we took as a sign of success. The soldier firing down from the cliff top is simply there to draw the player's eye up, triggering the look target and spawning the dropship with the buggy. Watching it now 20 years later, we're struck by how ridiculous it all is.
Finest mind of his generation. Here is another small interstitial scene that ended up working well. The only requirement for this moment was to teach the player to stay off the sand. With prior scenes, we were still focused on simply making them function. By the time we got to this one, we were becoming more comfortable and started enjoying the process of putting extra thought into these moments. In doing so, we pushed the characters beyond being mere signposts, creating something more interesting and entertaining. After release, Laszlo went on to develop a larger-than-life following, reminding us how hard it is to predict what players will hold on to.
Laszlo.
I'll stay with him a while. There's something I have to do. Go ahead. I hope you have better luck than we had.
Oopsie.
I have to get a load of this shit.
I was on my. Thank you. I was on my
There's nothing
BRB.
here. Damn, dog, you got me a whole thing.
Oh.
Yes, I got a second sip.
Wow.
How it tastes?
It's very sour. I like it a lot.
It takes like 5 lemons.
You put 5 dips in. You're supposed to use like 1 or 2 max.
What?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Or 2 max.
to be honest, I spilled it because like I was putting a lot of pressure. Because we have like a thing that lets you like hand crank the things.
Like squeeze the juice out.
No, like this. Like you have a thing where like.
Yeah.
So I used one of those things, and then because I was putting into a measuring cup because I had no other cup available that would be as dirty as that. Then it slipped and it spilled. I cleaned it up, and I had to use like 4 lemons again. So it's really like a quarter of 1 lemon, then like 4.
Don't eat all of them, okay?
Okay. Eat.
Floor is lava.
I'm drinking.
Building gameplay around broadly understood concepts like the
Give
floor
some
is lava
chat right
made
now.
training it easy. We liked how our
Ooh,
physics
chat.
system allowed for a high degree of
You go,
creative
Trevor.
freedom in how players chose to tackle it.
That's
Many options, while
What's
others
happening?
focus on using
I'll
just
save
their
it for him.
favorite sheets of metal. Some
That's
carefully
crazy.
follow the path
I think it's
up
even
the
more
rock,
sugar.
concerned about falling, while others move directly towards the exit, perch on objects just above the sand.
I think it's kind of good now.
Playstyles vary.
How
Some
sour
players
is
consider it
this?
a failure if they
Very
summon
sour.
reloading immediately.
It's sour
while
than
others enjoy
most sour
scrambling back up on the
candies.
rocks to recover.
Oh,
To be
We
fair,
all
it's-
like that it function as a
To be fair,
navigation
they're
point
not that
that
sour.
could be turned into an arena if players prefer. Some just jump over the sand and fought their way to the end.
I got a neck a little bit.
To do chat. To do shot. Yum. Trevor says yum.
Yay.
Yo, Trevor saved the stream. What? Do you know how?
How?
Because I was on the BRB screen for like since I took a little break to eat. So I was on the BRB screen for like 20 minutes or something like that. No, I know, but like when I put it on BRB, and then I ate, I went back, and I never switched it back.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, he came back. Trevor came back and was like, it's on the BRB. Also, Trevor said acid.
Acid?
Yeah,
Call my thing acid?
maybe.
Here, Trevor. How about you have a whole go?
No, Trevor, you're in big trouble now. Oh!
Go Good luck, Trevor.
The power of 5 lemons in one go.
I have a cut on my upper lip from that one time I bit it.
Good job.
It stings every time I drink.
It stings every time I eat. Hey. Right. What's up? Wow. That's really far away. Come here. Where am I supposed to go? She's playing Panicore with a friend. Panicore. I don't think I'm familiar. It sounds like a. Hold on, Will. Sounds like a Lethal Company type. My goodness. Come on, man. Oh, man. It's not too bad. Kind of scary. Yeah, that's okay. I love to get scared. I think. Oh. I don't think he said anything after that.
His mouth is shut. He was lemonade.
What?
Like his mouth is sealed shut.
It's sealed shut, yeah, exactly. He took a giant gulp and couldn't speak anymore. LMAO. Yeah. Where am I going? Going that way.
I think I gotta go soon.
Should try back rooms then. It's plenty of jump scares.
I think Paul's gotta work.
Oh, go. Come on, I know where you are. I know what you are. Go.
I know what you are.
Oh, yeah. At this point, yeah. Yeah, I'll try a scary game one day. Pretty sure I have one.
So
Let
I'm
me see
seriously one line or two?
Huh?
1 or 2 lines? Or lemons?
Yeah.
Damn.
2 lemons max. Lemons are huge.
You know how full the thing was? Like when I put the
How?
It was like to like 150 milliliters.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, yeah, let me get measured up.
My brother made a lemonade, like 1 glass of lemonade, like a kind of a tall glass, with 5 lemons.
It was like right here, like right there.
With 4 or 5 I guess you didn't use 5 entire honey. You just split some.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too. Really? That doesn't seem right. That's not a lot of limes.
Churros is not sour enough.
Sand Trap Hunter.
Jesus, haha.
The
That's a
explosive
lot of
barrels are
lemon.
provided for players to use
Yeah,
against
well,
antlions
it's
while
really
standing
sour,
safely
but
within the
it's
thumper's
actually not
protection.
that bad.
But we're also using this as a hint for the upcoming Antlion Guard encounter, where players often use
Ryan
similar
Moses
tactics
here
to
said,
win the
Jesus,
fight.
ha ha ha. That's a lot of lemon.
Optional player actions, like launching explosives with a gravity gun, can be forgotten if they aren't used regularly. With the wide range of offensive options we give players, there's no guarantee they've used this ability recently. So here, we're subtly suggesting they bring it back into their toolkit before they face the guard.
This is big lime.
Another sip.
It's for you and Trevor.
Whoa.
Shit.
Thank you. Here it is. Here's the concoction.
No, it's for you and the whole stream.
Good night, guys. Here's a glass of lemonade just for you.
4 limes. Just take an ice cube.
Huh?
Is that the crunchiest lemonade you've ever ate or drank?
It is. It's the crunchiest, most satisfying.
Okay, you're drinking all of my.
You said to have it.
Not all of it.
Oh shit.
Hey, no swearing on your stream.
Hey, oh shoot.
That's okay. I was having second thoughts about making more with beer, like 2 lemonades.
My mother was gonna make a recipe with those.
Okay.
So let her like do it. Whatever's left is like what we use.
Alright. What's up with lemonade?
Come on, turn on. Oh, it has to turn on over there. Fuck.
I was wearing. Everyone in the chat telling me stop.
Oh, there we go.
Excuse me.
Come on.
Sand Trap Hunter. The explosive barrels are provided for players to use against antlions while standing safely within the thumper's protection. But we're also using this as a hint for the upcoming Antlion Guard encounter, where players often use similar tactics to win the fight. Optional player actions, like launching explosives with a gravity gun, can be forgotten if they aren't used regularly. With the wide range of offensive options we give players, there's no guarantee they've used this ability recently. So here, we're subtly suggesting they bring it back into their toolkit before they face the guard.
Vortigaunt Extraction. This arena presented some tricky design problems for a couple reasons. First, the guard is a melee-only enemy, so we couldn't allow the player to reach areas where the guard couldn't follow. We did experiment with a few range attacks, but didn't like the results. Its goose-spitting attack, for instance, ended up looking ridiculous. The only non-melee attack that survived was its ability to bash physics objects at the player, but this required objects to be in range, which isn't always guaranteed. The second challenge was ensuring that no matter where the guard dies, the Vortigaunt can reach its goal. This was essential, as the game can't proceed if the Vortigaunt
I didn't hear a thing you said, I'm so sorry.
In rare cases, players could find themselves unable to kill the Antlion Guard in this arena. This would happen if they ran out of ammo, or had misused all of the available physics objects, leaving nothing to launch with the gravity gun.
The
To address
bag
this,
looks
we
like
added a
someone
citizen
has like
unmounted
taken out
turret
like
above the
just
gate
a
as a
little bit
fail-safe,
from it.
allowing a
Like
stuck player to rely on a
it looks like
citizen to
it's
kill the guard.
noticeable, like that you can tell someone has took like a little bit of limbs. It's like this like half a quarter down. It just looks like that.
I see. Okay.
I'm gonna
Freeman
leave the
will
one
have
in
need
center
of
now.
these pheropods on the path ahead.
Okay, good.
Gather them now. The free man must follow.
I swear by the pheropods myself.
The free man must excuse us. It is rude of us to commune by flex shifting in front of those whose mortal inputs are impaired.
Come on then. Karunga. I can't believe all the grass patches face you.
Get going, Dr. Freeman. Nova Prospect is just ahead. One man alone wouldn't stand much chance around there.
The free man honors us by his presence. Follow, Freeman.
Bug bait training. This clumsy bug bait training is where we landed, having run out of time, but needing players to understand the tool for Nova Prospect's design to work. Generally, we aim to add enough flavor and context to training so it doesn't feel like training. It feels like a natural part of discovering something new. Here, though, we didn't quite manage that. As obvious as it may seem, bug bait wasn't something players intuitively grasped. We're well into the game now, so players have plenty of experience dealing with enemies. Before we added any training, the first playtesters who collected bug bait entered the next level and instinctively shot the first antlion they saw, because that had been working up until then. Half-Life tends to encourage a shoot first, ask questions later approach. Similarly, when players reached Nova Prospect, they didn't think to throw bug bait at the Combine soldiers and instead relied on their usual weapons.
So
So
I used
we needed
one
this
whole
training not
lemon
only to
and
show
a
how
half
bug bait
of
worked,
one,
but
and
also
it's
to
to the
demonstrate that
fullness it
antlines
was
would be
last
closer to the
time.
player without attacking.
So I'm saving those 4 halves of
So
lemons.
you wasted like 4 lemons.
No, they're gonna go back in the fridge.
No, the first time.
First time?
Yeah.
No, those lemons are not as juicy as those ones. So it's fine.
Can also hold his appliance to attack specific targets. Observe the training mannequin and mark it well with another pheromone. The Freeman again excels in all tasks. Now, attend well. Apply pressure to your pheromone.
What?
Signal the appliance in your command.
Is pure lemon.
How?
Must squeeze his bug bait.
That was that much of the cup?
Yeah, this is one.
How many lemons did you use for this?
Okay, 1 whole lemon and then 1 half.
I see.
This is some juicy lemons.
Yeah.
Not lemons, but yes, lemons. And
What am I supposed to do?
The free man must squeeze his bug bait out. If he wishes the appliance to follow where he leads. The free man shows his excellence in all things.
Right.
And now this will not bid the free man farewell. Nova Prospect lies just yet. Remember well what you have learned here. The Eli has greatest confidence in you.
myself. There you go. That's what I get for throwing it to a Vortigaunt. Excuse me.
Thumper Final Stage. We liked the final stage of Thumpers, where their purpose is inverted. Now, instead of serving as a tool for safety, they act as a blocker for the player's antlion army. However, we probably should have incorporated more thorough Thumper training before this point. While it was acceptable for players to only partially understand Thumpers in the earlier Coast levels, the stakes are higher now because players are also trying out bug bait for the first time.
Assault on Nova Prospect. With an infinitely responding antlion army on a coastline assaulting a fortified Combine base, it was hard not to try a Normandy-inspired level. Our initial prototype featured trenches leading up to Nova Prospect, with lethal machine guns forcing the player and their antlions to stay within the trenches to survive. It was thrilling to have machine gun fire and leaping antlions constantly passing above the trenches. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it work within our performance budget, and ultimately had to set it
forgot to
aside
put
in
this
favor
one in
of
the
other
garbage, so
tools.
have a point.
However, the mounted guns
Okay,
remained,
that's it.
as their lethality proved useful in encouraging players to rely on their antlions.
I love it. I do care.
Yeah, I think this one's less and they're less silent. You tell me.
There's sugar in this?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe like technically a bit more sugar, but
That's crazy. I put in like 3 spoons.
wow, yeah, that's good.
Yum.
That's really good.
Take a sip for John. What do you mean? Yo. I need this. Oh.
Hey, you got most of it, right?
Yeah.
Normandy. Did you guys see that new what's his name? The actor who plays Rudy? Tom Hanks. It's like he plays as Walt Disney or something like that. It's called like Saving Mr. Beast. Did you guys watch it? Excuse me. Oh my goodness heavens. Which chapter is your favorite? I don't know. It's like really tough. Really tough question. Hold on, let me look. I think the driving chapter is what popping up in my mind. I can't look at. I was gonna see if I could look at all the available chapters. But yeah, and I think this driving chapter, including this outside bit right here, is pretty good. Nova Prospect is fun. Nova Prospect. It's fun, but it makes me anxious at the part where it's like you're enclosed in like the prison with like you need to put down turrets and stuff. A lot of waiting, stuff like that. I don't know. That's really my jam. Look at this guy. 20 crossbows. Oh. Lucky guy.
Nova Prospect stabilization force directive 2. Engage reserve.
Wow, we just crossed all of that.
Exogen incursion.
With our own bare little two hands. What's your favorite chapter, Trevor? Let's forget to ask. What's your favorite chapter? Popping out or what? They do. Nice. To mac it up there. I also really like the beginning chapter. Where you spawn in the metro and stuff like that. Sorry, bugs. Got the fire. Silly idiots. Probably our benefactors better sci-fi and show off pictures of all my stuff. True. That's the one inside the Citadel, right? Like near the end. Our benefactors. The blue gravity gun. Yeah, true. That was pretty fun. Big fan of sci-fi stuff, you say? Have you ever watched District 9? If you haven't, please watch District 9 in any way you can. Excuse me. Oh my god.
Prospect Yard. The combat throughout the Nova Prospect Yard was largely inspired by our early observations of antlions fighting Combine soldiers. The antlions' high mobility and melee attacks paired well with the soldiers' range lethality and vulnerability up close. Antlions look great under fire, with particle effects flying everywhere, and when they finally reach a soldier, the resulting ragdoll effect is incredibly satisfying.
My goodness, those Lemmings. Nice. Nice. Out of my way, son. Dang. I know I'm using my SMG ammo. To me, it feels satisfying. It's about to go nuts. Hey guys, sorry about that. My iPad died. Okay, what's that?
Magic Wall. Like many of our combat arenas, we needed a gate of some kind to prevent players from moving on before they finished this fight. Unfortunately, we were out of time and had to move on to the train station, so we ended up with this bit of magical bullshit. A wall that just explodes after the second gunship is defeated, revealing the way forward. We reassured ourselves
I don't want to
that most
ruin
players
my
wouldn't
frame.
notice, as they'd
Thanks
be
for
busy
reminding me of
fighting
my
the gunships, and our playtesting had shown that generally they all finished the fight before they reached this point. With enough explosions throughout the arena, the
Do you even know
destroyed
their
burn
wooden
wall
log?
felt pretty natural.
No, I'm okay.
Though we threw in a couple of simple gas pulses
They're
on
not
the
gonna know
other
what
side
that
to justify it.
means.
But no, we're not exactly proud of it.
Awesome inside jokes.
A5, A7, B2.
It's getting Ricky.
The player has just completed 2 combat-heavy levels, so we wanted to slow things down once they got inside. These early levels were designed as a pacing change, allowing players to explore the layout of Nova Prospect's interiors. Along the way, we began to introduce the turret gameplay. First,
Turrets. Turrets were a useful design tool when the player had bug bait, as they could completely prevent antlions from approaching them head-on. This allowed us to create setups where the player couldn't just throw bug bait to proceed. They needed to circle around and clear the turrets so their antlions could follow. It didn't hurt that watching antlions get mowed down by turret fire was a great visual too.
Nova Prospect process. Like Ravenholm, Nova Prospect was initially designed with significantly different gameplay than what ultimately shipped. The first version focused on player versus combine soldier combat, with no involvement of antlions. Unlike other areas of the game where gameplay and art evolved together, Nova Prospect received a large art push early on. This produced a set of reusable, polished sections of level geometry with art already applied.
Yes.
Assembling Nova Prospect from these pieces worked well, as the prison's layout was naturally repetitive. And then later, when we returned with antlions and bug bait, we had to repurpose the geometry to fit the new gameplay.
Do you think if I use my couch and my hands to make the beat, it was sort of copyrighted?
What?
Do you think if I use my hands and my couch to make the beat, it's sort of copyrighted?
I mean, I've seen a dude get copyrighted from making a beat with a paper towel dispenser.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's so if I just go, it'll get absolutely demolished.
Some dude might decide to do that.
Like in your stream?
Huh?
In your stream?
It's, yeah.
That's crazy. So do you have 200 megabits per second?
I do. Turret. Turip. Ape. Ape. Oh, ape. Ape. Turret. Ape. I think I've been down here. Oh no, I haven't. Let's get this chapter done and over with. Rah! Bro, where the heck am I going? Alright, I guess not. Oh.
Allied Antlion. Having an endlessly respawning Antlion army attacking turrets and soldiers meant we had to spend time figuring out the player's role in Nova Prospect's combat. The player had already faced plenty of Combine soldiers, so we decided to make combat here feel more like a puzzle and a spectacle instead of a combat challenge. With that in mind, we created setups that remained in a steady state until the player intervened. By directly killing enemies, the player could tip the balance in favor of the Antlions, but we wanted to make bug bait usage especially rewarding. In many scenarios, when the player threw bug bait onto enemies, we activated additional Antlion spawners, unleashing a rapid rush of new Antlions into the fight. The resulting carnage was the reward that made bug bait satisfying to use.
Okay.
Ragdoll Vortigaunt. There's a lot of pain to see in this dead Vortigaunt, pain of our level designers. At the time, our development tools didn't allow us to directly pose a ragdoll, which is to say, when an NPC dies and it systemically ragdolls to the ground, we didn't have any control over what pose it ended up in. If we had some animator time, they could have given us a single frame animation and roughly the pose we wanted, but we were late and our small animation team was already overloaded. So a level designer positioned the Vortigaunt above the chair, told it to die as the level loaded, and waited to see what pose the ragdoll settled into. Then the designer moved the Vortigaunt slightly and tried again. We can't remember exactly how many attempts it took, but it was way, way more than you'd think.
Sorry, that was disgusting. Back again, the class can already have 36 more minutes. You can do it. You can do it, Mary Hee Hee. Welcome back, by the way. Welcome back.
Laser
The stream should be over soon.
We really
enough.
enjoyed bringing these laser trip mines into Nova Prospect. They were a weapon from Half-Life 1 we hadn't managed to include in Half-Life 2, but at least they found a place as a puzzle element. We liked how they
Bugs are my
served as a kind
friend,
of
you see.
personal morality test when the player had an Antlion army. Some players immediately threw bug bait past the trip mines, setting Antlion bodies at the problem, while others had their little buddies back until they'd safely removed the trip mines with other tools. We didn't judge.
Source problems require source solutions. I know, right? Sorry. What ifs? Finally. No white bloods in this room. My health. I don't know. I've been streaming for 2 hours. I have. Honestly, I haven't really noticed. There you go. Think we're good? There you go. Nice. My health. Nice. Oh my goodness. Perfect. Video Ninja.
E2 Prison 04. Throughout development, our artists created small vertical slices of environments, which we called art zoos. These zoos laid out how to use textures and props to create gameplay spaces that achieved our visual goals. However, when building the prison's gameplay track, the repetitive layout allowed us to use the art more directly. This map was initially built as the primary art zoo for Nova Prospekt, but after being used to test various gameplay prototypes, including those that eventually led to Bugbait, it became part of the actual level architecture.
Nice. Oh man. Sure. Let's gap this over with. Mustard. Enough with the enough with the mustard. Literally, what is that even? Where does it come from? All I saw was a Disney posted a picture of one of their characters screaming mustard, mustard. And now my chat.
D2 Prison 04. Throughout development, our artists created small vertical slices of environments, which we called art zoos. These zoos laid out how to use textures and props to create gameplay spaces that achieved our visual goals. However, when building the prison's gameplay track, the repetitive layout allowed us to use the art more directly. This map was initially built as the primary art zoo for Nova Prospekt, but after being used to test various gameplay prototypes, including those that eventually led to Bugbait, it became part of the actual level architecture.
Concerning recent successes, members of the Resistance Science Team. Let me say up front, I regret having to temper my heartfelt congratulations with a strong measure of disappointment. I wouldn't be doing my duty as your administrator. I did pass along the message I have received from our other members. The capture of Eli Vance is an event of major significance for the mistake. While it's true that it is almost any time in the last several years.
Nice.
These captures have unexpected benefits. It cannot have gone unnoticed by all Resistance members that Dr. Vance's capture coincided with the act of giving shelter to Gordon Freeman. This might cause other Resistance members to think twice.
D2 Prison 05 start. With the player able to move a large number of objects, we often ran into challenges, especially given the limitations of 2003's CPUs. One limitation was that our AI navigation system wasn't aware of dynamic physics objects, like these metal beds. While our NPC movement system could detect and avoid physics objects while moving, they were essentially invisible during navigation queries for strategic planning or movement. This was primarily due to performance limitations. We couldn't afford anything more complex.
Look at this. I just want an A key.
We also faced design challenges without clear solutions, like how a soldier should respond if a player completely blocked a corridor with large physics objects. To address this, we gave NPCs additional strength to push physics objects around. We then mitigated the issue through level design, widening corridors and ensuring enough empty space to handle props landing anywhere within them. This setup is a high-risk one. The combination of soldiers hiding behind beds and antlions charging for melee attacks creates a good chance of awkward interactions between the NPC movement system and the beds.
Laundry. By the time the player reaches this level, known as Laundry, we're confident they're comfortable using Bugbait to solve combat scenarios. So, we wanted to raise the stakes a bit by creating a scenario that encourages the player to get even more involved, combining Bugbait with their full set of weapons.
Side zombie. This poison zombie was always a highlight in playtests. Players so focused on Combine soldiers, antlions, and turrets hadn't seen a poison zombie in quite some time, so its sudden appearance in the dark often created a moment of shock.
I'm I don't even know if I did it once. I must have. What the hell? Do, 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 do. Good.
Kitchen. It's a well-known custom among game developers that all video game kitchens must feature a gas explosion.
They really do. Oh, really, they must. I don't know if I can do this one. I don't know if I can do this, guys. Most of Tune.
One-way drop. Players never know what's ahead of them, but they're familiar with what's behind them, so it's common for them to retreat to familiar ground when they encounter an enemy. If we've built an arena where we want the player to engage, especially for an enemy with specific geometry requirements like the Antlion Guard. We needed a way to prevent that retreat. A common solution is to require the player to enter the arena through a one-way drop, something you've likely noticed a few times already.
You. Come on, please. Please. Yes. Skibbity bop bop bop. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Alex! Alex!
Alex's toolkit. Alex's multi-tool is incredibly useful for letting us use her as a key. Often we needed to keep the player from moving forward until we were ready, and her multi-tool allowed her to deliver dialogue while unlocking the way ahead. We probably relied on it a bit too much, but it was hard to resist. There's always a trade-off. Using Alex to gate a room instead of creating a custom solution saved time that we could spend on other parts of the game, often more critical ones.
Alex as companion. This section became an unintentional prototype for what Episode 1 would eventually feature, Alex as a companion, moving smoothly along a path that blends dynamic combat with scripted choreography. We didn't yet have a clear model for how she would fit alongside the player in these scenarios, but even this brief section taught us a lot, despite not having enough time to iterate on it.
They're ready.
Alex.
That was brutal.
Where'd that come from? Oh. Just hiding in there. Excuse me.
All right. Over here. This will get me into their security system. Now to find my father. Oh my god. These poor people. All right, I think I can bring him in. There. He's on the way. Let's go meet him. Ha! Done. Follow me. Come on.
Nice.
He should be in here. Let me just get this open.
Eli in pod choreography. We wrote and recorded dialogue for the scene while still building out Nova Prospect. At that stage, we knew Alex and Gordon would teleport out of the prison, but none of the specifics had been worked out. So the dialogue needed to be broad enough to fit whatever we ultimately built. This led us to focus less on the player's actions and more on Alex's vulnerability and her connection to her father. We hoped the emotion would carry the scene more than the narrative itself. Ultimately, we're aiming for the player to care about these characters and want to prioritize what's important to Alex.
We're here to get you out, Dad.
Never mind me. Save yourselves.
No, we're not leaving you. I think I can recalibrate the Combine portal to get us out of here.
But where will you go?
I talked to Dr. Kleiner. His portal was almost working again. If he's managed to repair it, we'll end up there. If he hasn't, well, we couldn't be any worse off.
It's not worth the risk, Alex. I can't lose you. Get out while you can.
We're not leaving here without you. That's final.
We can't leave Judith here either.
Don't worry, Dad. We'll find her. For now, I'm going to send you to the teleport chamber. I'm not saying goodbye, Dad. We'll meet you there.
I know you will. I'll see you there, baby.
Let's get out
I
of
was
here.
our book smart, I'm money smart.
Right. Over here.
Over here.
I'm gonna head back to the security station and try to patch into your suit radio. Wait till you hear from me.
Alright.
Take care of yourself.
Okay, guys. I think this is gonna be a good time to say goodnight. What? Yeah, it's gonna be a good time to say goodnight, guys. I'm gonna, wow, wish y'all a very good night to anyone that's here. Who's here right now? Is there anyone here? There's one person here. It starts with one day. I don't know why. It doesn't matter how hard you try. Oh, Cosmonaut. Excuse me.
Hey, it worked.
Cosmonaut, we're gonna call it quits, okay? You know you just came in. I'm gonna say goodnight, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Hold on. Yeah. I'm just gonna do this right now. Watch this. Stream ending. But yeah, good night, guys, for real. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys probably the day after tomorrow. Probably. I wonder why it's saying that I'm here too. Oh, weird. Oh yeah. Okay. No. Okay. Sorry. Usually, I have my stream open on my phone to check the chat. So by default, it says I have one viewer. But now it was being for real. There's actual two viewers. You were here too, Trevor. I didn't know you were here the whole time, listening to me, Trevor. That's so nice of you. And you too, Ryan and Cosmonaut. It's always one thing. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to explain the due time. That's all I know.
I love you.
Watch it. Oh, thank you.
Never chat, share you little piece of.
Watch it, bye. Hey guys, check this. I'm gonna crack my neck. Ready? Oh.
Weakest in that crack in history.
All right, guys. I see all your good nights. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Rip Chester. Rest in peace, Chester. True. Yeah. Rest in peace. Good night, guys. I just realized you guys can't see me because it's on the BRB screen. I'm drinking lemonade right now. for the viewers who are viewing impaired. All right, guys. Good night. For real.